Duval, welcome in to my final 2022 Jaguars predictive 7 round mock draft. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Appreciate you guys being here. You can follow myself on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo, Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. If you're watching this live, really appreciate it. If you are tuning in later, you can leave a comment. Let me know what you think about what we have going on here. But on the day before the NFL draft, the Jaguars have come to an agreement with Cam Robinson, their starting left tackle, on a brand new contract, keeping him in Jacksonville for 3 more years. How does that impact the Jaguars' draft plans? I don't think it does impact them. I think the Jaguars have been very clear about wanting to keep Cam Robinson around every step of the way this offseason. And this is that next step. He's now under contract, 3 years, 54 million, probably about 2 years guaranteed. It's going to look like that's how the Jaguars have been structuring those contracts. So he's your starting left tackle in Duval. Does that eliminate Ike Mekwonu? Perhaps Evan Neal? We'll take a look. But the big question, who is number one for the Jacksonville Jaguars tomorrow night? We have one more sleep, 24 hours until the Jaguars kick off the 2022 NFL draft with that first overall pick. Is it Trayvon Walker? All the buzz is moving towards Walker. Is it Hutchinson, who was the longtime favorite? Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. Again, could it be Ike Mekwonu, the left tackle out of NC State? Trayvon Walker is rumored to be the apple of Trent Baalke, the Jaguars general manager's eye. Aiden Hutchinson is connected to Shad Khan in that regard, and Ike Mekwonu is apparently the guy that Doug Peterson, the Jaguars head coach, has his eyes on. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know who the Jaguars are going to take tomorrow night, but I think they know. I think that they knew when they entered their pre-draft press conference last week. I think they've been doing a bit of posturing, perhaps trying to stir up some trade interest for that number one pick, just keeping people on their toes. But yeah, I think the Jaguars know who they're going to pick. I don't believe that after months of preparation, they're waiting till the last day to figure out who that prospect is going to be. I just think they've been tight-lipped about the whole situation. But again, all the money is moving towards Trayvon Walker, the Georgia defensive end, defensive lineman. Who's it going to be? I want to tackle that question right now. And yeah, I see Sliver in here saying they're going to trade. I do not believe the Jaguars are going to find a suitable trade partner for that number one overall pick. While this is a year that you would like to trade out of the number one pick, everyone else knows that. And it makes it more difficult to trade out because there's no quarterback to trade up for. There's no Chase Young or Myles Garrett. It's tough. So I'll go ahead and get this mock draft going on the TDN, the Draft Network mock draft machine. We're going to do 7 rounds here. I'm going to try to make this as predictive as possible. I think the TDN predictive board is as good as it gets out there. Big fan of how the aesthetics work, the user experience, all that good stuff. All right. So let's go ahead and share our screen. Going to get rid of that tab audio so you guys don't hear all the teams calling with those trade offers. Okay, so the Giants have offered a trade here according to TDN. I think they're more generous than real life is going to be. I don't think the Jaguars are going to get a suitable trade offer, as I mentioned. So we're going to go ahead and X on that. So the Jaguars are sitting at the top of the draft with Trayvon Walker on the board, Aiden Hutchinson on the board, Kayvon Thibodeau, Ike Mekwanu, Evan Neal. Who's it going to be? I think they narrowed it down a while ago in my mind to Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson. You could say that they could draft Evan Neal or Ike Mekwanu to play left guard in year one and then kick them out to tackle, but from the way this roster has been built over the last couple of seasons with Trent Baalke as the general manager, you've brought in Brandon Scherf on a big contract. You've re-signed Tyler Shatley. You have drafted Walker Little with the second round pick in 2021. You have signed Cam Robinson to a long-term extension. I don't think all those moves point to you adding another offensive lineman with this high of draft capital, excuse me. I do think they will draft an interior offensive lineman at some point. They might draft a tackle as well. I don't think they're planning on doing this with the first overall pick. All the moves made throughout the last two seasons and especially throughout this offseason point to the Jaguars taking an edge defender, a guy who can come in and make a big impact in that front seven. Everything has been pointing to either Trayvon Walker or Aiden Hutchinson with that pick. For me, it's pretty simple when you look at these two guys. Athletically, everybody wants to point to Trayvon Walker being this amazing athlete, and he is. He is a 99th percentile athlete. But if he's 99th, Aiden Hutchinson's 98th. Hutch and Walker have the same 10-yard split, and when you're talking about making an impact in the box around the line of scrimmage, the 10-yard split is more important than the 40, and they have the same 10-yard split. They have the same vert, which shows off the explosiveness. Hutch is actually a much twitchier and quicker athlete, and that was evidenced in his testing compared to Walker. Now, Trayvon Walker is longer. He has more speed. And again, the difference in their length is pretty substantial. Trayvon Walker has 35-plus inch arms. Aiden Hutchinson's fall below the threshold at a little bit over 32. But when you're looking at them athletically, they're both incredibly impressive athletes. I cannot stress that enough. But yeah, if you're just looking at pure athleticism, the pure physical profile, Trayvon Walker is the most impressive guy probably in the entire draft, regardless of position. But that's not the only thing you factor in. You have to factor in the skill sets here. What are their skill sets? Trayvon Walker is a versatile defensive lineman that can move inside, can move outside. In base defense, the Jaguars are going to be probably running a base 3-4. He can set the edge for you. He can also be a weak side defender, run and chase. He can drop into coverage and make it difficult for quarterbacks to find lanes over the middle of the field with his length and athleticism and instincts. He's a very instinctive and disciplined football player. He's going to help you against the run. He's going to help you dropping. He's going to help you by eating up blocks. He can take on 2-3 blocks at one time with those long vines of arms. He's going to allow you to free up other guys, certainly. He's also an excellent knifer, squeezing between tackles, tackle and guard and center. But where's the pass rush profile? That is all projection when it comes to Trayvon Walker. He does not have a pass rush plan. And don't get me wrong, he is inexperienced when it just comes to being a straight up line up outside the tackle, pin your ears back, and get after the quarterback. But there is evidence of him attempting to do that in the Georgia defense. Even if that's not what they generally asked him to do, they did ask him to do it relatively often in 2021. And there was no pass rush plan. There was no moves. There was no counters. There was no bend around the edge. There was no consistent inside move. It's just raw. It's unrefined. And then when you look at Aiden Hutchinson, this is a guy that can bend the edge a little bit. I think he has potential room for growth in that regard. He's a refined pass rusher who is also a good run defender. If you want someone who is going to be a pure edge, line him up across from Josh Allen. He's going to stop the run. He's going to get after the quarterback. It's Aiden Hutchinson. If you want versatility, if you want him to be able to line up inside, line up outside, eat up blocks, drop back in space, and potentially develop into a pass rusher, that is Trayvon Walker. I believe the Jaguars are going to draft Aiden Hutchinson with the first overall pick. As I have outlined, he's not the same level of athlete as Trayvon Walker. He doesn't have the length of Trayvon Walker or a lot of the top pass rushers in the NFL, but incredibly refined, incredibly hardworking, a tone setter, three down player from the jump who's going to make a big impact. He's going to help you maximize Trevor Lawrence's rookie contract. He's going to help you compete from day one. And make no mistake about it, Trayvon Walker will help you from day one as well. It'll just be in a different role. It'll be as someone who can defend the run and someone who can be versatile for you, not a guy that's going to go out and create consistent pressure in year one coming off the edge. And Hutchinson's going to be able to do that for you. I think he's going to be able to do that for you for a long time. I do not think he's maxed out. Again, incredible athletic profile for both guys. I think they both are going to get much better than they are right now. But I think the Jaguars are going to take Aiden Hutchinson, who is going to come in, line up across from Josh Allen, and be an impact player right now to help Trevor Lawrence, to help this defense. I think it's a no-brainer pick. I think there's been a ton of smoke over the last couple of weeks about Trayvon Walker. Trent Baalke loving that length. Trent Baalke does love length, but when you look at the guys he's drafted super early at defensive end / defensive line, Alden Smith had length, yes, but he also was incredibly effective with his hands. He was dominant. As a redshirt freshman, he dominated at Missouri. DeForest Buckner, same thing, was a dominator in college. You can look at Eric Armstead, who did not dominate at Oregon, but that was the 17th overall pick. We're talking about a number one pick. You need a guy who knows how to get after the passer, who knows how to set the edge, who knows how to run and chase, who's going to be an immediate impact player. That's Aiden Hutchinson. We're going to put him on the board. I think it's a coin flip. I know that the Jaguars already know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm predicting it's Aiden Hutchinson. I'm not buying the late smoke on Trayvon Walker. And with that, we will get this draft started with Aiden Hutchinson off the board at number 1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jamison Williams off the board. Devontae White. George Karlaftis to Arizona. Lewis Cine comes off the board. He's a guy I think Trent Baalke would absolutely love to target at 33. Jahan Dotson and Tyler Linderbaum at 31 and 32. I think both of those guys could be in play at 33. Certainly Linderbaum more than Dotson. Who we got? Devin Lloyd. He should not fall out of the first round, but I see him falling out of the first round a ton lately. He's 24 years old, wasn't an insane tester. David Ojabo falls out of the first round. Perrion Winfrey, the Jaguars brought in for a pre-draft visit. He could be a 3-tech type of player, interior disruptor. You've got Quay Walker on the board, who it looks like in my mind, what I'm seeing, Quay Walker probably will not make it to the second round based on the reports coming out lately. But I do believe if Quay Walker is on the board and you've got Tyler Linderbaum off the board, Lewis Cine no longer available, Kenyon Green gone, Zion Johnson gone. You do still have Treylon Burks there, who is enticing. Trent Baalke has never drafted a receiver that developed into a multi-year starter. Not for lack of trying. I don't think Nakobe Dean will be in play. I don't think he really fits the athletic profile and and physical profile that Trent Baalke's going to be looking for. Christian Harris could be in play, although I would like to think it would be a little later on. Quay Walker has incredible length. He's a very good athlete overall. I think as a run fitter and as a tackler, he is excellent right now. He's still developing his ability to pick up those tight ends and slot receivers in shallow zones and kind of be in the right spot at the right time. But he is developing in that regard, certainly. He's fairly inexperienced, with this year being his first major year as a contributor for the Georgia Bulldogs with so much talent on that defense. Is it going to be Walker and Walker for the Jaguars? It certainly could be. I don't think so, though, because I think they're taking Aiden Hutchinson. But I do think if Quay Walker's on the board at 33, that will be the pick. You will have stacked your defensive line and then your linebackers. You've got Quay Walker to work with Foye Oluokun. We'll go ahead and put Quay Walker on the board with the caveat there is a good chance he is not available at 33. And if he's not available at 33 in this situation, I think Christian Harris could be in play. I think Trey McBride could be in play, the tight end out of Colorado State. The Jaguars, each of their top 3 tight ends is not under contract beyond 2022, so you need to have a long-term plan there. Trey McBride compares favorably to guys like Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert that Doug Peterson has had success with in this league. There's Trey McBride sitting there. Chad Muma, the Jaguars brought in on a pre-draft visit as well, but he does not have quite the same physical profile as Quay Walker, who is certainly looks like a Trent Baalke guy. We're going to have to go ahead and put Quay Walker on the board. Not what I would do at 33. I do value him as a second-round pick, but not this early, to be completely honest, and not with all the guys that are currently on the board that I have rated higher. But I think this is what the Jaguars would do. Unless they went Devin Lloyd. But I think they'll be more impressed by Quay Walker's physical profile than Devin Lloyd's. I would take Devin Lloyd in a heartbeat here if it was up to me. Easily the top player on my board here. But I think the Jaguars would go Quay Walker. And I don't think Devin Lloyd's going to fall out of the first round, to be completely honest with you. I think one of those teams in the 20s, a smart team that knows what Devin Lloyd can bring to them, which is pretty much everything as an off-ball linebacker, is going to take him in the 20s. Trade offers galore. 2 3s and a 6 for 65. This is the top of day 3. By the way, 33 is the top of day 2. The Jaguars could certainly trade out of that pick, but I don't think they will if Quay Walker's on the board. All right. Trey McBride's still available. I think this is too easy of a pick. The Jaguars brought him in on a pre-draft visit as well. Again, athletically, he compares favorably to both Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. He is an incredible pass catcher. He does everything well as a tight end. He's not just a slot that plays tight end. He's a real tight end. And he can line up in the backfield as an H-back. He can move around. He's a very good blocker, excellent hands, good route runner, good athlete, just going to be a guy that's a really good starting tight end, a versatile starting tight end as well in the NFL for a long time. He was the Colorado State offense. I think they'd be deciding between Trey McBride and Dylan Parham here, who they also brought in on a pre-draft visit. I think they like both guys a lot. What do they need more? That's debatable. I think when you just look at 2022, they probably need an interior offensive lineman more. When you look beyond 2022, it's debatable. With all 3 of the Jaguars' top tight ends having expiring contracts, I think Trey McBride is a better football player than Dylan Parham. I think Doug Peterson would probably kind of be torn here between these two. Parham is a very good athlete at the interior, can play center or guard. What is going to help Trevor Lawrence more? Is Dylan Parham going to be better than Tyler Shatley or Ben Barch in year one, or whoever is competing for the left guard spot? I don't know. Is Trey McBride going to be your most complete tight end immediately with the best hands on the team? Yeah, I think you value Trey McBride here. By the way, I love Travis Jones, who's still on the board. I just don't think the Jaguars need to prioritize an interior defensive lineman this early. They are very deep on the interior. We're not going to trade back here for a 2023 second and a 6 and a 7. Sorry, Cleveland. Not happening. Dylan Parham has fallen to 70. That is an easy pick for the Jaguars. Easy pick. I do want to do our due diligence and look around, make sure there's nobody I think they would value more. John Mechie is no longer on the board. He came off in the second round. The Jaguars brought him in on a pre-draft visit. I think they're high on him. I think they could be high on Alec Pierce with his ability to win at all levels of the field. 6'3", 4'4" speed, 40-inch vert. Definitely a deep threat for Trevor Lawrence. But I think they're going to go Dylan Parham, who is going to certainly develop, they think, into a starter at one of the interior offensive line spots down the road. Brandon Scherf is up there in age, even though he's probably going to be around for at least 2 years. Tyler Shatley is also up there in age. Dylan Parham, put him on the board for the Jaguars. So we're sitting pretty here. Quay Walker, I think, was a little bit of a reach, but you can understand it with his athleticism, with his length. He might be the best tackler in the class. He just simply does not miss tackles. Good run fitter as well, developing in coverage. Top of day 4, this is another area the Jaguars could get some trade offers. The Raiders are offering a 4, a 5, and a 7 for a 4 and a 6. We're going to stand pat here. I think at some point on day 3 in the draft, the Jaguars will get aggressive and trade up. I also wouldn't be surprised if they trade down. Michael Clemens is a guy who was going in 6th, 7th round. He's now off the board at the start of day 3. And I'm not surprised. He is a physical specimen. Wow, Kirby Joseph still on the board for the Jaguars. That makes a ton of sense. Rayshawn Jenkins has a out after year 2 of his deal, which is this year. He struggled in year 1, had more penalties than big plays for the Jaguars, despite being a captain. Kirby Joseph has length. He has good range. He has ball skills. His only year as a starter, he picked off 5 passes and forced 2 fumbles. Or excuse me, I think he recovered 2 fumbles. But he's got a nose for the football, clearly. He came into Illinois as an athlete, didn't have a natural position, stuck at safety, became a starter in 2021, and he was one of the most effective safeties in coverage in college football, turning the ball over. You pair him with Andre Cisco long term, and you've got 2 safeties that can turn the football over for you. You love to see that. I think Joseph can sometimes you can line him up single high, but you're going to want him in that split zone a lot. He also has plenty of experience as an overhang defender. Jaguars have shown interest in him. I think it's warranted interest. I think if he's there, he's the pick. So I think this is the range the Jaguars could get aggressive. It's the same range they got aggressive last year. Maybe look at the Eagles at 124. Trade our fifth for a fourth. Throw in 180. Offer acceptance is high. Let's go ahead and send it in. Uh-oh. I was just talking so great about TDN, and then we have a glitch in the system here. They select Jalen Armour Davis for us, which is reasonable, but the Jaguars have a ton of quality cornerbacks already. Let's see who's on the board and see if we can edit this. See what we think. I think in the fourth round, in a trade up scenario, the Jaguars would just be looking for a value pick at this point. I don't think it would have to be any specific position, just someone they value highly, they don't think should be on the board still. I don't think you trade up for a running back, although I love Dameon Pierce. Could it be Rasheed Walker, who I project to be best at guard at the next level? He still has a lot of development to do in the consistency department with his hands and his feet. Super inconsistent. But he can be a physical son of a gun. I think you get him in your system and develop him. He can either be a guard or a tackle in the future. You want to keep building depth on the offensive line without question. I think Doug Peterson, part of his championship run in 2017, a huge part of it was the talent and depth that he had on his offensive line. Matthew Butler, I think, is interesting. Again, the Jaguars are super deep on the interior. We've already addressed edge, linebacker, and safety, tight end. Interior offensive line. Do we want to add a wide receiver? Would the Jaguars trade up for Justin Ross? Trevor Lawrence's college teammate. He's really one of the draft wild cards because I think he could go as high as the third round. I think he could fall all the way to the bottom of day 3 with his injury concerns. But I still think he's a guy with a huge catch radius who knows how to run routes, has really nice cuts that kind of leave defenders grasping at air, both with the ball in his hands and as a route runner. I think the Jaguars would consider trading up for Justin Ross in this situation. Now, Danny Gray and Tyquan Thornton are certainly better athletes. So is Bo Melton. But Justin Ross has a connection with Trevor Lawrence. He can come in and compete. This is low risk at this point. I think instead of Jalen Armour Davis, you can go ahead and pencil in Justin Ross there. And it might not be Justin Ross, but I think at some point on day 3, the Jaguars are going to trade up. And we're going to say that it's for Justin Ross right now. So pretend Jalen Armour Davis is not there. That's Justin Ross. Whoa. Let's slow it down here, guys. There we go. Back in action. Three times Walker draft. Yeah. Yeah, that would be funny, wouldn't it? If they went and got Rasheed Walker. Damone Clark comes off the board. He's a guy I had the Jaguars keeping an eye on. Had that spinal fusion surgery. He's going to miss all of 2022. But Trent Baalke loves value. He loves taking a shot on a guy who could be a potential starter. I think Damone Clark would have been penciled in as a starter in year 1 had he not suffered that injury, unfortunately for him. All right, so we've got 3 picks coming up here, a few more down the road. We've already gotten a wide receiver, a safety, interior offensive lineman that can play guard or center, your tight end of the future, linebacker to play next to Oluokun, Aiden Hutchinson to help out the entire defense. You look at Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Allen as your starters, and then DeJuan Smoot and Arden Key as your rotational rushers. You really like that group. So where could the Jaguars go here? I think again we're going to be looking for value since we have been able to land so many guys that should be able to come in and contribute already at pretty much all the needs. Mario Goodrich is a cornerback I think the Jaguars could be interested in. I really don't see him falling down the board this far, but he's really physical, really good tackler. I think you're going to need to be that in a Mike Caldwell defense. Of course, we don't know exactly what Mike Caldwell's defense is going to be, but we know it's going to be heavily influenced by what Todd Bowles did. A lot of zone looks defensively on the back end, and then a lot of games up front. We'll look around here. I'm a big fan of Damarian Williams, but he's a smaller guy. Of course, the Jaguars showed this offseason they're not scared of the small guys. Went and got Darius Williams, the hometown kid. But I think Mario Goodrich, he's a guy that I think could be a developmental number 2 corner in a Mike Caldwell defense. Got 2 more picks coming up here. I know Jalen Naylor could be a speed deep threat. Charleston Rambo fits that bill as well. Kevin Austin is just he seems like he could be a Trent Baalke pick. He has a fantastic athletic profile, but not a lot to show for it on the field. Jaguars have not addressed the running back position, and this might be the time to do it. If it was up to me here, I would not be looking at Tyrion Davis-Price in all likelihood with some of these other guys on the board, but the Jaguars did bring him in for a pre-draft visit. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, he has good straight line build-up speed. I think he could come in and be a physical presence if James Robinson is unable to go at the beginning of the season. He's good in pass protection. He has good hands. Tyrion Davis-Price is going to be the pick for the Jaguars here. What do you know? On the board again. Back-to-back picks. Can we find a developmental tackle? Yes, we can. Kellen Deesh. He's undersized. He's athletic. He's a fit for a zone scheme. Put him on the board. Got a couple more picks here. I think one of them you use on a kicker. We'll go ahead and insert. I have not scouted the kickers, as I've told you guys before. Whatever kicker you feel comfortable with coming in and competing with Matthew Wright and Ryan Santoso. The TDN mock draft machine does not have kickers, so again, we'll put in a placeholder. So our 2 placeholders are Jalen O'Moore Davis is really Justin Ross, and Bam Olaseni is really a kicker. A special teams weapon. It's one thing to take a weapon in the 7th round. It's an entirely different thing to take them in the 3rd round. And if you're a Jaguar fan, I'm going to assume you know what I'm talking about. Yes, you do, John. All right. So this is the last pick of the draft for the Jaguars. You're just going to try to find value. Darian Kendrick, I could see. Yeah. I mean, he's had plenty of off-field and character concerns. But from a talent perspective, it's there. Tariq Castro Fields, interesting. Did not expect to see him on the board at this point. Think he could be a developmental fit as well. Yeah, I think Tariq Castro Fields could be the could be the pick here. I would have taken Tyler Algier over Tyrion Davis-Price, but I don't know if the Jaguars would. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put Tariq Castro Fields here. I think he's going to end up making a roster and being a contributor. And you could develop him into a potential third or fourth corner on your roster. Senior Bowl guy. Good stuff. So that's the end of the draft for the Jaguars. Got through that, in a reasonable amount of time, I would say. So what do you guys think? The Jaguars, I have them landing Aiden Hutchinson with the first overall pick. I know all the buzz is on Trayvon Walker. You just had the 33rd team reporter over there who Doug Peterson did some work for them last year, saying that it's going to be Trayvon Walker. I just don't buy it. I don't think you draft a versatile run defender / drop defender / guy that can stunt, who doesn't really have a pass rush toolbox in any way, shape, or form at this point over Aiden Hutchinson, who is a very good athlete in the box. Technically just advanced way beyond anyone else in this class. He has the explosiveness and speed to threaten the edge. He has the inside counters. He's constantly working those hands to improve his position, and he's going to be a good run defender, both strong side and backside. So I think the Jaguars take Aiden Hutchinson, who is the safest player in this class on the defensive side of the ball. When you look at the edge rushers, I have him and Kayvon Thibodeau right next to each other, but the Jaguars, it doesn't appear, will be interested in Kayvon Thibodeau. Quay Walker is a guy Trent Baalke and the Jags have been connected to heavily. They brought him in for a pre-draft visit. Doug Kyed of PFF last week said, if he falls out of the first round, pencil it in at 33 for the Jaguars with Quay Walker. I don't know that he will fall out of the first round. I think there's a decent chance that he will, because linebacker is not that high value position, that off-ball linebacker. Then you get into the third round. Trey McBride is just too good to pass up on. He is that tight end of the future who can be a slot, who can line up in line. He can line up in the backfield. He can win all over the field. He's a natural pass catcher and route runner. He's a physical blocker. He can do it all for you, and he's really going to become Trevor Lawrence's best friend. Dylan Parham was in the running at that pick for the Jaguars. He can come in. He's very athletic. He will be a developmental center / guard for the Jaguars. Kirby Joseph will come in and perhaps push Rayshawn Jenkins in year one for some playing time, but incredibly instinctive. He needs to develop a little bit, doesn't have a ton of experience, but when it comes to getting his hands on the football, Kirby Joseph had 7 turnovers in his lone season as a starter in 2021 for Illinois. Jalen Armour Davis, who we traded up for, is not Jalen Armour Davis. That is Justin Ross, another one of Trevor Lawrence's buddies. He said he'd like to play with him again. If he falls to the 4th round, I think the Jaguars might get aggressive for him and go pair him up and develop him as a outside guy that can play flanker, can play X, can line up in the slot as a jumbo slot, a big guy that some of the linebackers and safeties won't be able to keep up with, but the nickel guys might be too small to compete with, so I could see that working out well. Mario Goodrich, he's too talented to be on the board at this point. Physical tackler. I think he's going to develop into, at worst, a number 3 corner for you. Tyrion Davis-Price, the Jaguars brought in on a pre-draft visit. You have to worry about when will James Robinson be ready to go. Travis Etienne should be ready for training camp. So Tyrion Davis-Price comes in as that big physical back who can pass protect, who can catch the ball out of the backfield, and does have some nice build-up speed. Kellen Diesch is a developmental offensive tackle, perhaps a developmental swing tackle behind Cam Robinson. And then whoever gets the starting job on the right side, Walker Little, Jawan Taylor. Dilla dropped earlier that he believes Jawan Taylor was being shopped earlier in the offseason. Perhaps Jawan Taylor does get moved at some point. Bam Olaseni is really a kicker. Insert whichever kicker you're a fan of. And then Tariq Castro Fields, another guy that at corner. I think this is a really deep corner class. So some of these guys could get driven down the board. But another potential zone fit. He's a Senior Bowl guy, tough kid. I think he has a chance to make the roster, contribute on special teams, and develop into a 3 or a 4 at the cornerback spot. What do you guys think? John says, let's hit the like button and support this man. I cannot agree more. Grant asked if I was going to the draft party tomorrow. I am not. I've got some responsibilities. I'm going to be on Stacking the Box right after the Jaguars pick. You can go check them out. They're on YouTube here on Stacking the Box. That is, they're a fan-sided podcast. So yeah, Ben says the PFF app is more realistic. I'm a big fan of the Draft Network and what they do over there. I like PFF too, but TDN has not let me down. Outside of the occasional glitch, which I'm able to just pause and reset and figure it out. That's going to do it. The Jaguars now have a potentially dominant pass rush group. They have a linebacker to go with Foye Oluokun, a tight end to be Trevor Lawrence's best friend, a guard / center in Dylan Parham that should be able to land a starting job sooner rather than later. And then Kirby Joseph, I also think, can find the starting lineup. Everybody else is developmental. Tyrion Davis-Price, I think, can come in and play if you need him to for James Robinson. Grant Williams says after 33, we go best available. Maybe. I think the goal for Trent Baalke is to always go best available and align it with need if possible. But he said you go with best available. If it's need or best available, you go with best available if you can't find both, is Trent Baalke's philosophy from the man himself. Yeah, we'll see who it is. Trayvon Walker or Aiden Hutchinson at the top. That's going to be the talk of the day tomorrow. Up until the pick, we're just not going to know officially, probably, unless there's some. I mean, we've had reports that it's going to be Trayvon Walker, but I'm still not buying in on that. I think it's smoke. I think Aiden Hutchinson is the number one defender in this class. I think he's going to fit the culture of positivity that the Jaguars are building, high energy, high positivity, a tone setter both against the run and as a pass rusher. He's can't miss. And look, Trayvon Walker, he has a good floor as well as a guy who is going to be a run defender, is going to be able to move around the formation, has good instincts, length, athleticism to drop into those shallow zones. He's going to be able to do that for you, but you could be disappointed with Walker in terms of his pass rush prowess. And you need that out of an edge defender with the first overall pick. Aiden Hutchinson's going to give you that. That's going to do it. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Check out genjag.com for all the latest Jaguars news and analysis and Duval gear. You can follow myself on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. Follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. And that's it. We've got less than 24 hours till the draft, y'all. Don't lose your minds too much. Hope you enjoy the content, and I will be back tomorrow to talk with you guys about what the Jaguars do. Make no mistake about it. Get some rest tonight, Duval.